Hi, and welcome to the Shave Tank live and Shave the Topic #1. Well, today's talk is about EVs, electric vehicles, and all that stuff. Why? Simply because a few people asked me on Facebook that I've seemingly reserved a Tesla Model 3, and yes, that is correct. So buying a Tesla Model 3 very soon. Very soon is about a year and a half or something like that. So yeah, let's see when that arrives in Europe. But so let's get into the topic of EVs a little bit, and I will try to share my thoughts on that, because there's a lot of bullshit on the interwebs going on about that whole thing, and you really have to research around it and all that stuff, so you really get a mindset on how this whole thing is happening and what's going on with it and all of that. So EVs in general. The first argument I hear from people that are basically against it is, but well, to make an EV, it also takes CO2. While basically at the moment this is correct, there is a lot of bullshit going on around the whole thing, how much and what and what. So for example, let's take Tesla. They produce their cars in Fremont, which is in the US, and it's actually in California. And California is actually one of the states that has actually a very good balance of how much green energy they are using. So that's kind of good. And there is still some CO2 from coal and everything, of course, in there. So yes, it takes CO2 to make electric cars. And I'm sure that some cars take more and some less. But you also have to consider it also takes CO2 to make your gas car or petrol car or diesel car. And over the course of the use of the petrol or diesel car, you're also producing CO2 out of the pipe with other toxic gases and whatever. Well, in an electric car, even the pessimistic estimates say that in about 2 years of driving it, you're even. So that argument is bullshit. And also while you're driving, you're not putting out toxic gases, which is dumb anyway. So the next thing is, but those lithium-ion batteries that are in there, they are really, really bad, because there are things like lithium, of course, and cobalt and all those things in there. Well, thankfully, I've studied a little bit of chemistry. And if you look at it exactly, there are teeny tiny amounts of cobalt and lithium in each battery cell. Of course, you need a lot of cells for an electric car, like 4,000 or 6,000 or whatever. But yeah, basically, there is really not much in there. And it's not going into the environment because you put it in the cell. It's not going to drip out or whatever. And then the people say, but yeah, but sometimes this cell will break down and you have to throw it away or whatever, which is also bullshit. Because even if you're no longer using it in a car or wherever, you can still use the battery for storing solar power in your house or whatever. So there is no need to really go dive into that whole thing and throw it away. And even if you have to, because the cell is really dead, you can't use it anymore for anything, then they are about 100%, let's say 99.9 or something like that, recycling. So you can get all the cobalt, all the lithium, all the aluminum from the housing, everything, you can get it back. So yeah, that's that. Also bullshit argument. So basically, all those arguments are non-valid. So let's get into the other arguments I get, but well, driving an electric car, it's not really cost effective. well, cost effective. It depends, of course, where you live. But here, I think in the US, you have like this tax credit that you get if you buy an EV, which is up to, I think, $7,500. Here in Austria, we get like 4,000 euros or so if we buy an electric car. Then we don't have in Europe, we have to buy usually high taxes on cars. Those taxes, monthly taxes to like drive your car. And those taxes are zero for electric cars. So that's nice. I doubt that it will stay zero forever because the state wants to have money usually. And yeah, but currently zero. Then there are other perks, especially here in Austria, like you can park in zones where parking is restricted for other cars, and you can get into city centers even when there is like pollution alarms or something like that because you're zero emission and all that stuff. So there are a lot of benefits to driving an electric vehicle. Then the next thing I always hear is, but the range. And this is usually, sadly, right for a lot of electric vehicles. For example, the first generation Nissan Leaf, it's like 83 miles, like 110 kilometers. The first Renault Zoe, which we have a lot here in Europe, is like 100 kilometers, which is like 60 miles, 70 miles. And the BMW i3 is like 120 or 130 kilometers, which is close to 100 miles. So that's also very short range. But thanks to energy density, this is getting better. For example, the new i3, which came out, I think, this February or March or something, they upgraded the battery and now it gets 200 kilometers or 120, 150 miles, something like that. And I'm really bad at converting kilometers to miles, so bear with me. By the way, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat here or tweet it at the Shave Tank, so no problem. And yeah, so that range is going up, and one of the best at the moment in the non-Tesla EVs is actually the Hyundai Ioniq, which I test drove, and you can get around 200 kilometers also from it, which is really nice, and you can also recharge it very nicely. We get into that in a little bit. And then, of course, there is Tesla. And even the shittiest Tesla you can buy, you can get easily 250 miles or close to 350, 400 kilometers out of it. And the one I want to get, the Model 3 with the big battery pack, is set to get close to 500 kilometers or 300 miles. So that's actually pretty solid range. So yeah, that should be decent. And then the next thing I always hear is recharging that car. Recharging that car takes a long time. And if you're on the road, then you have to stop and wait there for hours for your car to recharge, which is also bullshit. Now, of course, for some cars, that's not bullshit, but you won't get anywhere with them. For example, first generation Leaf, 80 miles, you drive 80 miles and then you have to recharge it, which you can make decently fast in like half an hour or something, depending on the fast charging. But yeah, you don't get far with those. But let's look at Tesla. For example, not talking about Model 3 because we don't know, but let's take the Model S. And you have like this 85D, you drive 400 kilometers or 450 or whatever. I think it goes close to 500 even. And so that's about 300, 310 miles or something. If I drive that range, I want to have a break. Because let's see the fact, no matter how comfortable your car is, after 300 miles, you want to get up, out, stretch your legs, possibly get some coffee or something like that. So you have the convenience in the Tesla to drive to a supercharger, which charges your car really fast. You take a break for like, let's say 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and go for a coffee, stretch your legs, maybe go to the loo, and you get back in your car and you can drive another 300, 400 kilometers. Easy as that. And even the navigation system in the car will tell you where the next superchargers is. And if you say, I've tested this when I test drove the Model S, you can actually program, like, go from Austria to northern Norway, which is really, really fast. It's like if you want to go from really, really far, not fast. It's like if you want to go from, let's say, Los Angeles to like northern Alaska or something. And it will tell you how long it takes you to get there, at how many superchargers you have to stop, how many brakes you have to do. So it's easy to get around in such an electric car. Maybe it's a bit different because you don't stop at the gas station, because I know from my habits, if I drive a long way, for example, from my hometown in Graz to Frankfurt, which happens like 2 or 3 times a year, I'll usually make at least 2 stops, and that's at least once I get gas, and or it was a lot was diesel before. Now I have a petrol car. Now I get petrol, and I get coffee, and it usually also takes me like half an hour getting out of the car, filling the car, parking the car, because you can't like stay at the filling station with your petrol car. So you have to park it in like a parking lot, then you have to get out again, then you have to have like 2-3 minutes walk to the coffee to get to the coffee shop, and then you have to buy coffee, maybe stay in line. So yeah, it takes time, half an hour easy for each of those stops. So that's that. And that was also actually all the arguments that I was weighing up in my head before I decided to get the reservation, because the only thing that really was holding me up is like the price of the Tesla Model S, because simply I can't afford it. And so I got the reservation for the Model 3. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, but there are other cars that have like similar range and everything, like the Chevy Volt, or I think it is, or here in Europe, it's called the Opel Ampera E. And then there is another BMW i3 coming, which also presumably has like 150, 180 mile range. They're not sure yet. And then there is in I think September, October, there's the Leaf version 2 coming, which should also have a range like this. And of course, then there is very new here in Europe, the Jaguar I-Pace, which is like an electric SUV. Well, that's actually the easiest. Why didn't I get that one? Because it costs 100,000 euros. I can't afford that either. But let's talk about why Tesla and not something else. There's actually 2 factors. The one is battery technology. And of course, I'm a little bit of a tech geek. And I was like going into researching what they use, the car manufacturers, for the batteries and everything, and how this technology works. And there are the one thing is the battery. Most car manufacturers use something called pouch batteries, and that's basically something like this, like a plastic pouch, and they fill all the electrolytes and everything in there, and you have it in a pouch. It's actually the same that is in your cell phone or in a laptop or something, because you can make them really flat. You can really make them like this air paper in this flat configuration, and stack them together and everything. And that's, of course, one good thing, because it's very simple and you can like compress it really small. Of course, if you compress it too small, then you have the Galaxy Note 7 thing with your cell phone exploding. And you don't really want an exploding car. And the second thing is, this whole thing is in a plastic bag. And if a cell is drained really fast, which can happen if you like push down the pedal in an electric car, then cooling is really an issue. So, and also if you like take your cell phone and remember your cell phone, how it works, approximately in 2 or 3 years, usually you can throw your cell phone away if you can't change the battery, because the battery will degrade a lot. So battery degradation is also a lot of an issue. And to get around that, and I don't know why actually other car manufacturers don't do that, because Tesla has opened all their patents and said like, everyone use our technology. Tesla is actually using a round cell, like the AA batteries, you know, from your remote control or whatever. So they're actually using these round cells. Of course, they're a little bit bigger than AA's, but basically the same concept. And then you have like 2 very good advantages. The one thing is, if you have a round cell, the outside of the round cell is usually aluminum, so it's a metal. And of course, a metal is transferring heat really good. So if the cell gets warm, the outside will also be like a cooling metal, like a cooling sheet of metal. Now, if you put a lot of round cells together in a battery pack, there will be small gaps between the batteries, because they're all round and not cubic, so that you can stack them as tightly, which is in some ways bad, because you can't really compress them so much, but also very good, because between those you can like put cooling fluid, venting and everything like that, and so the battery will get a lot of cooling. And if you research a little bit into guys that are driving Teslas, there is one guy in the US who went with his Model S, which was one of the first, like 320,000 miles. Then there is one guy in Europe, I think from Norway, who drove all around Europe, and I think like 450,000 kilometers or something. And those guys saw like battery degradation of like 3% to 5%, which is awesome. And those cars are now like 6, 7, 8 years old, and that's really good. So there is even some of the Tesla guys commented on the forums that they were surprised that the battery is holding up that good. They didn't imagine that. So that makes me very confident that the battery of the car will actually hold up a long time, and that's a very good thing. And then there's other technologies, of course, which are in the car, like the full autonomous driving autopilot that you get with every new Tesla. Of course, it's not fully activated yet, because there is still something called the law, but I'm sure they will get there. And but it's the self-driving features that are in effect are really, really nice. I experienced that when I test drove the Model S, and I can tell you, you have to experience it for yourself. Exactly like the acceleration. Now, I didn't have a car with this ludicrous mode because they wouldn't let me have it. But even the standard Tesla, I mean, it's really fast. It's like Porsche fast. So you have to get a Porsche to even get close to that acceleration. So that's really fun. They don't make slow cars, really. And all that, of course, added features in there with like big screens and navigation and music streaming and everything. So this car basically has it all. I mean, why the hell? I mean, screens in vehicles are a joke, usually. Because let's face it, I'm sitting in front, at the moment you can't see it because you see me, I'm sitting in front of a 27-inch computer display. This computer display costs like $200, 250, and you get 27 inches. And it's really good because it has a bigger resolution than full HD. It says like 2500 by whatever pixels. So that's really nice. And if you buy a brand new, let's say BMW i3 in the standard package, you get a navigation screen that is smaller than my cell phone. So if I put my cell phone up in the dash and like have that cell phone display the navigation info, it will be better than what you get on a BMW i3. Unless you pay like $3,000 to get the bigger screen, with which they call like the business whatever thingy, and then it will be 8 inches, which is a lot smaller than my bloody iPad. So what the hell? I mean, seriously, what the fuck are they thinking? An 8-inch screen in 2018 in a car, and it's not like this is a feature of BMW. Every car maker does this. Screen sizes are a joke. And then you step into a Tesla and you have like this 17-inch display on your side and like fucking big display in front of you. It's huge. Of course, in the Model 3, it won't be 2 displays, but it will be one really big display. So yeah, I have no idea why other car makers make the shitty screens and like ask you $3,000. I would feel ripped off. I mean, I feel ripped off because I have a petrol car now. That's total bullshit. So sorry for the ranting, but I get sometimes emotional when I speak about that. I hate getting ripped off, and that's a rip-off. And then there is another thing, of course. The last thing I want to say why I chose Tesla is superchargers. Of course, a lot of people have been telling me, but superchargers, they won't be free for the Model 3. That's true, but it's not the supercharger because it's free that it's good. It's good because they are everywhere. There are superchargers and destination chargers. Even in a small country, European country like Austria, they are everywhere. I mean, there are destination chargers in like every shopping mall here. There are superchargers all around here, so they are everywhere. So everywhere I drive, I can charge my car if I need to. Of course, I may install something at home also, but I could charge it like very close to me, like 5 minutes drive or something. Not even 5 minutes, I guess. So that's very good. And they like give you 400 kilowatt hours for free, which is also nice, and then it may cost something. So I'm fine with that. As long as I don't need, I see it with other owners of electric cars, which we have a few here. Most of them like have these BMW i3s, and they have like a lot of different cars because there are a lot of different energy companies, and everyone has their own card, and they have like a whole pack of cards in their car, so they can charge everywhere. And I don't want that. I just want one system where I can go and in and have it, and that's it. Yeah, so that's that. And those are basically the reasons why I'm going for EV. As of course, then there is the environmental reasons. As I said, even if you are producing CO2 on some level, there is the emissions of the car, which are zero in case of an EV. And yes, it may be like a little bit what was first, the chicken or the egg problem. But of course, you have to go zero emissions on your car and then give the states and everyone the chance that the energy production also over time goes to zero emission energy or close to zero. Like go solar, go water power, go wind and all that stuff, which is happening really rapidly here in Europe. I don't know about the US now because Trump said he wants to fire coal again, which is bloody bullshit. But yeah, yeah, that's that. So I hope you understand now what my whole thing is about the whole theory emission thing and why I'm doing that. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments of this video. Of course, you can also review this video when I'm going off the live stream here, and you can watch it again and all the ranting and everything. And I want to give a few shout outs with a few people who like helped me get to the decision to drive in EV. You can check out the channel of the Model 3 Owners Club, and also that there is a channel called Now You Know. They have a lot of things going on with EVs, renewable energy, solar energy, and all that stuff, also for your house and everything. So if you are into that, you might want to check that out. So that was my first Shave the Topic show, and it was all about EVs. Next topic, I don't know yet, but I will let you know. Hopefully in about a week or two, we'll have the next show. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was great talking to you guys again. And as always, let's all high five, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.